Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I'm Shannon with Hippie Dark Arts. And today I just want to talk to you about a topic that I don't think is talked about a lot in our community. And it's also one that I feel is assumed, but when I encountered it, I had the opposite reaction, and I just want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is this idea that people who are deeply grieving turn to art to help work their way through their grief. And what I want to say first and foremost about this is I call bullshit, okay? I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who can and do use art and music and poetry and writing to help them move through their grief, but I think that those people are actually the exception rather than the rule. If you don't know, I lost my 21-year-old son in March of 2024 to him taking his own life, and it was completely unexpected. It threw our entire family into a huge spiral of grief that we are still trying to climb our way out of. I have been doing art for more than 10 years, and at some point in those early days I thought I can turn to art to help me process through my feelings. And let me just tell you, that is not what happened. In fact, every time I tried to pick up my iPad or to pick up my markers or pick up my sketchbook or whatever, my favorite supplies, I could not focus. I could not think. I couldn't even doodle, because I could not use the things that I loved doing to help me process through the most horrible thing that had ever happened to me in my life. And for a long time, I thought that there was something wrong with me because of that. I thought that this was something that I should be able to use to help me process through what I was going through, because isn't that what everybody else did? That was my line of thinking. And I was actually unable to do art for several months afterwards. I was also working on a dissertation at that time, and I was in the very last leg of my dissertation, and I had already been struggling with it, and I could not do it. I could not touch it. I wanted nothing to do with it. So I actually gave myself permission to put the dissertation aside and not think about it, not let it take up space in my mind. And it sat there for almost 9 months untouched. But the art, I did not want to set the art aside. People who regularly do some type of creative activity, whether it's quilting, crocheting, making music, writing, painting, ceramics, anyone that does a regular creative practice, you know that if you set it aside, it can be really hard to pick it back up. The skill does not stay there unless you are actively using it. And so I didn't want to set it down, but I also could not get myself to create. And I struggled with this for several months. Prior to my son dying, I had been planning a long car camping trip that I was going to take in the summer. It was going to be several weeks all across the western part of the United States. I almost thought about canceling it, but I decided that I needed to go on this trip. And I took all my art supplies with me because originally the plan was I was going to drive and car camp across all of the western states, hit all of the national parks, and just spend time creating art and seeing the beauty that is. I probably took as many art supplies as I did all my other supplies. And as I got on this trip and I started out, I quickly realized that I was not going to be able to create anything. I tried to sketch some of the things that I saw, and I tried to get my art supplies out, and it didn't work. I could not do anything. So I fell back to one creative endeavor that I have always been able to do, and that was picking up my camera and taking photos. Now, I used to be a photographer. I had all the photography equipment, and throughout the years, I have pared myself down to just using my phone. The cameras that come on the iPhones now are probably 10 times better than the cameras that I used when I was doing photography in the early 2000s, right? So there was no reason for me to carry around a bunch of equipment. I no longer did photography other than for my own enjoyment, right? Fun fact, I tried to monetize photography years ago and started hating it. So that's when I quit. And so now I just do it for my own enjoyment. And sometimes I do it to get the shot, and sometimes I do it for the fun of it. So I don't care what the shot looks like. So this is what I leaned on during this trip. I have to say, I was still deeply in the midst of grief on this trip, often crying my way through Wyoming and Montana and Idaho as I was driving. I was by myself and really feeling into all of those stages of grief. Okay. Now, I would like to note I have 2 therapists, so I was able to continue to meet with my therapist on this trip, and I am still actively seeking the help that I need to get through this. And this trip in and of itself was incredibly healing for me, but I was not able to do any art while I was on it, other than take photographs of the beautiful nature that I saw. Thankfully, I did that. And I was doing that with the knowledge that I could always go back and use my own photographs, right, as references for whatever it was that I wanted to create. Also, quick plug here, I've put together digital downloads of a lot of my photographs into packets that people can buy on my Etsy store. So if you are looking for reference photos that you want to be able to use pretty much royalty free, you can find those on my Etsy store. Some of them are from that trip that I mentioned, and others are from trips that I have taken over the last 15 years. I also have a digital reference pack of photographs of my son's life from birth to 21 years of age that can be used for reference photos. They are pictures that only have him in them. They are pictures that I have taken throughout his life, and a portion of the proceeds that I get from the sales of those packs, I donate to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP. It's a nonprofit organization that actively works towards trying to get the necessary resources to people to prevent suicide. So if you are interested in supporting a good cause, would like some royalty-free reference photos, you can check those out. They're all in my Etsy store, and they're all instant digital downloads. When I got back from the trip, I still was having a hard time doing any type of art. And honestly, now I can't really even tell you at what point I was able to pick up my sketchbook or my iPad and start working again. I did. I was eventually able to start. It was slow, and a lot of it was not actually creating art, but more just getting in my sketchbook and doing swatches or playing with my supplies. That was my entry back in. And here's my point. I remember making a remark to my therapist about how I felt betrayed that by my art, by my artistic creative side, that I was not able to lean on that during the worst times of my life. And my therapist said to me, she said, Shannon, most people are not able to lean into their creative endeavors when they are so deeply in that kind of grief. Yes, some people can channel their pain into their music or their art. She said, but those people are the exception. That is not the rule. Oftentimes, when you're that deep in grief, you just need to be in order to heal. And creating art often is more than just being. It requires more energy and brain power than you have to expend at that time. And so I just thought that I would share that, because I don't know if there are other people out there who have that same mindset, that when they're going through tough times or when they're grieving about something, that they should be able to lean on their creativity or their artistic endeavors to help support them through those times. Maybe I'm the only one, but on the off chance that I'm not, I just want you to all know that I'm not the only one, and there's nothing wrong with you, and that you're not broken, because everybody has the right to grieve in the way that works for them. And that does not look the same for anyone. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. Thank you for coming to my channel. Thank you for being here, for supporting me. I would love it if you got anything out of this, if you would hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. There's a lot of rhetoric going around on what a YouTube channel should look like and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And I'm just here to tell you that if you're on my channel, you're just going to get me. It's going to focus on me. It's not going to focus on necessarily how I create art or why I create art or how you can create art or how I practice witchcraft or how you should practice witchcraft or let's do it together. It's going to focus on me and what I'm focusing on at the time. And my hope is that will be interesting for people, and maybe it will help people feel like they're not the only ones out there, because we're not as alone as we think we are. All right. So until next time, friends, I love you, and I hope that I will see you again. Thank you.